But I do get before you start talking.
Alex.
I think Alex.
No. No one comment?
I know. Nothing's too much. Yeah, so yeah, for Jonathan and Chris, any of it. Oh, yeah, that'd be great. Whatever you're from. Yeah, you know. Yeah.
Welcome to the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority's meeting November 2nd, 22. Welcome. Thank you. Got a lot of you. That's great. Watson, can you do a roll call?
Good afternoon. Micah Bartome here. Steve Rubber. Alexandra Deep.
Here.
Milton Mahoney. Tyler Kinley. Jessica Letaw.
Here.
Jonathan Massey. Here. Darren McKinnon. Present. Mike Meckelon. Here. Russa Nichols.
Here.
And Danielle Vaughn. Mr. Chair, before we move on, I would like to take a moment to welcome our new board members, Danielle and Russa. Steve unfortunately could not be with us today, but please join me in welcoming them to the board.
Welcome.
Yes, and I would like to ask Danielle and Russa to take a moment to tell us a little bit about themselves, and after they're done, ask all of the other board members to do a little bit of an introduction for Russa and Danielle. So,
Thanks. Take it away.
All right. I'm Russa Nichols. I've been in Ann Arbor for about 7 years. I work in startups and tech communities in the area. Daughter who's 3, and we live right downtown, so we take advantage of all of the work because
Hi, I'm Danielle Vaughn. I have lived in Ann Arbor for the last 20 years. I own Ivy Salon, which is right on 4th Avenue, places for Kiki. Live here, have 2 kids, married, Lisa.
Alex, you want to just a quick introduction?
I'm Alex. I've been on the DDA for a couple of years now. I'm an attorney.
Thank you.
Mike Mickelon, I'm the executive director of the Ann Arbor Summer Festival, and I just joined this year at the DDA for the second meeting. So here we did with my full team. My name is Darren McKinnon. I'm on the board of 15. Yeah, senior member, better word, better. We got a lot of turnover recently. I use.
My name is Jessica Hall. I'm a community organizer for housing and affordability. I do a lot of talking about buildings in the built environment, including podcasts and articles. In general, if there's a conversation. Oh, Chris is nodding. Oh, yeah, nodding. You know,
Back. Company, dad, and I'm a little bit after you.
Right, 2018 was later.
That's right.
My name is Micah. I've been on the board since 2019. I'm the service treasurer. I grew up in Ann Arbor. I worked in development investment.
Jonathan Massey, I'm Dean at the Tallman College of Architecture and Urban Planning at the University of Michigan, and I'm a DDA resident. And have been on the board for, what is it now, a year and a half.
Thanks. Got a good crew here. So we'll move right ahead into our meeting. Approval of the board meeting agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the board agenda? Second. Wonderful. All those in favor of approving the board meeting agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Passes. We have time for public comments. Maximum 4 minutes each. I don't think we have anybody signed up. Anybody would like to comment? Moment it seems. We'll move forward. Approval of the September and October 2022 minutes. That's pages 3 to 20 in your packet. You got it. Do I have a motion to approve the September and October 2022 minutes?
So
Cool. All those in favor of approving September and October 2022 minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes. Reports from city board commission.
Mr. Chair, we had expected a report from the Citizen Advisory Council that has not arrived, so we have nothing to share in that regard today.
Darn, they're always interesting. Do we have any members' communications from our DDA?
I'll just remind us that we are 11 weeks away from election day, so if you have comments and vote, you can do so anytime between now and November 8th and tweeting on it.
Great. Right up, executive director for months. Fine.
A handful of things, Mr. Chair.
Great.
A reminder for the board that the Michigan statute PA 57 requires that the DDA hold 2 informational meetings annually. We have traditionally held these meetings in June and December immediately prior to the board meeting. It's just a reminder that the second of the 2022 meetings will be held prior to the December meeting of the board. Also, with the election next week, the city will have some new council members, and we will be providing an orientation presentation to the new city council members on November 29th. As well, as we have new board members, we want to have an orientation with them and reach out to them. We need to set up a time. Ideally, we'd like to do all of the board members together. That may be a little challenging, but we will make sure that they all have an orientation. Some good news to share with regard to the Go Pass program that the DDA provides funding for every year. Excuse me. Just to remind you that the Go Pass program provides funding for discounted transit passes to downtown businesses for use by their employees. The program encourages the use of transit by workers that are commuting to downtown. I'm pleased to share that the Go Pass program, after experiencing a significant decline during the pandemic, is beginning to see an increase over the past couple of years. Willianne Webb, who is the new business services manager at the ride, is doing a terrific job, great outreach, and very pleased with what she's doing on the Get Downtown and Go Pass program. We're just really excited about the work that's happening. And I also wanted to take a moment to share with you, I guess, a testimonial, a note that she received from Cafe Zola, actually, that I think speaks to the value of the program for downtown and the businesses. Cafe Zola is grateful for the opportunity to participate in the Go Pass program. Our staff really appreciates the passes and have been asking when they would get their new ones. The program began yesterday, or the new year the program began. Being able to provide free transportation to work helps us to retain staff, especially those living outside of the immediate area. Transportation costs have a huge impact on the budgets of young families, students, etc. When I gave a pass to one of our cooks that lives in Ipsy, he literally told me, "You saved my life." Being able to positively impact the lives of our employees without negatively impacting our budget is invaluable. So I thought that was great comment. Wanted to share with you that Maura Thompson has volunteered for the the Ann Arbor Bicentennial Committee. I think everyone's probably aware that the 200th anniversary of Ann Arbor's founding is coming up in 2023. So, and lastly, just to let you know that the city budget process kickoff meeting is taking place on November 15th. This is for the 2-year budget cycle for 24 and 25. So, thank you.
Thank you. Your work with you actually. That's wonderful. Moving on to subcommittee reports, we'll go through starting with the Affordable Housing and Economic Development Committee. I'm currently chairing. We had a wonderful presentation. Jeff Paul is with us today, and we've got a resolution here. Bringing it forward. I think Jennifer, you're going to give a short presentation. So be wonderful.
Questions.
Yeah.
Just for new board members and the public, so the Ann Arbor Housing Commission, we're a component entity of the city, like the DDA. I have a separate board, like you all, on a separate budget. We provide affordable housing. We have 17 properties, about 550 units throughout Ann Arbor. We also administer, you probably heard of the Section 8 voucher program. So we are the administrator of that throughout the county. We are specifically here to request a little over $591,000 for a property that we own, Baker Commons, which is on the corner of Main and Packard. So it's a very visible location, entry into the downtown. It was built in 1981, and right now it is a former public housing site. It's no longer public housing, but we still serve low-income households. They just have a different form of subsidy now. They have a voucher-based subsidy. So most of our tenants are under 30% of median income, which means they make on average $13,000 a year. Most of our tenants are disabled. About a third of them are seniors, and the rents are set by HUD. So right now the rents are $687 a month. It includes all utilities. We don't have an opportunity to increase the rent unless HUD gives us that permission, and it's based on cost of living increases every year. So we are very challenged as we have capital needs in the building and maintenance needs in the building. It's very challenging to come up with funds to pay for that because we cannot raise our rents to do. Probably rents of this size, one bedrooms in downtown, if we weren't subsidized and limited, would be more like $1,600 a month, not $600 a month. So we're in the DDA's district, literally in the district. So we're eligible for requesting funds from the DDA's Affordable Housing Fund. And we have a budget and specific items that I am happy to go through what those are with Tim to kind of walk you guys through what that looks like.
Sure.
So here is the actual budget. The vast majority of it is related to our chiller. So the total you can see at the bottom with 10% contingency is about $591,000. Some of these items we have a contract for, but most of them it's more of an estimate, and one of them we have to do an RFP because of the dollar amount. Okay, Tim, explain what we're looking at here.
So that would be the current chiller. Has surpassed its lifespan. It's now costing tens of thousands to maintain and keep repaired. So one of the items would be a new chiller with a glycol system. take us on to the future. Below that would be the wall that encloses the chiller, so it's not unsightly to Main Street. That encompasses the chiller. There's also a wall just behind the person taking the photograph right there. Through the years, salt, water, ice has deteriorated these retaining walls. And they don't need to be removed and rebuilt. They just need to be brought up current, fresh mortar, fresh caps on top of the walls to keep out any fresh water, salt from penetrating. There above the windows, kind of hard to see, but it's a deteriorating lintel support that goes across the top of the windows. It is pretty badly rusted, needs to be cleaned out, re-primed, re-painted, and covered put back in. Cracks for all of the cabling on the outside of the building is all falling apart. See there how it just needs to be redone. Start hiding the cables. That is the trash compactor in our basement. One of the items in that budget is to wall that off. Right now, it just permeates its lovely odor throughout the entire area down there. So sectioning that off is going to help contain not only the odor, but there's another things that come through a trash compactor that are not.
Oh, no, it's just. I was imagining the owner and fluid from my nose on my sleeve. Yeah. So this is a system that water boiler and chiller for water cooling, right?
Correct. It's
So the radiant.
It's a single system rated. Summertime, the chiller runs, or there's can't run while the chiller runs.
Yep.
And then when it turns full, like it's about to switch over to the heat. We have a chiller system that's done. But here you can see the staining on the ceiling tiles. This is because during construction, running up through the building to all the apartments from that chiller are all the lines of the plumbing lines that take this cold water up through the walls, but they didn't insulate. So in summertime, they sweat like crazy. The water comes down. Every year we're dealing with the wet ceiling tiles, moisture, the mold and mildew. So installing the system to catch the water and the building. There is a condensation pump, and that's the kind of system that we're putting in. Something that'll capture all that condensation as it comes down, takes it into a condensation pump, pumps it outside. That's the retaining wall along Main Street.
It's actually is not in this ask. It's just to let you know, like the next probably big project that we'll be funding is that retaining wall is starting to deteriorate, and we'd like to remove all this landscaping and completely redo this and make it more beautiful.
And you can see all along the bottom, the salt well there. After all these years of salt, decades of salt, it's brought it up.
That is, yeah, there's also, we had a structural study done by IMG, and which we had look at the building and also walls to get selected too.
If you could just scroll down to Zach real quick, so we see that is the building. It's sort of high as in plain view at that corner of Patrick. It's kind of an amazing building in my opinion. That downtown is sort of there. It's a wonderful necessity. Part of the reason that we have to do a little presentation is that the ask is not small. But one of the the challenges within Ann Arbor's sort of push for affordable housing is that a lot of the public demands new units. And so it can be a little bit more challenging to spend money on the maintenance of current units, even though it's absolutely necessary.
So just as a process, I think now is a great time for the budget for Jennifer, and it might be good to move the second one.
Sure.
And just again, a process point, I think what you're talking about is better under the discussion.
Sure. Makes sense. Are there any questions for Jennifer?
One more question, for the pipe for the condensate, those condensate pumps, they live in the, like above the ACT ceiling and the ceiling and take out the condensation, or are you also insulating the pipes so that they don't necessarily have?
You can't get to the pipes, they're within the wall. We put
Oh.
material in the walls to get the wall.
Oh, okay.
So our best option, cheapest option is to capture the condensation and remove it from the building. So systems we're putting in for that particular problem is a capture, catch all of the condensation as it's created, and then that will run it to the pumps that'll pump it outside.
Okay.
Same thing as that we do with our air conditioners. We have air conditioners that are in the building. Those have condensate pumps. The condensation from those run to those pumps and it's pumped right up.
Right. And then like above like the ceiling tiles.
It'll all be up there.
That's where the pumps are.
Yep.
Because when you have exposed pipes that are running above the ceiling tiles, are those going to be insulated, or is that all taken care of by the pump?
Right, so the lateral ones that we can get to, we can insulate.
Okay.
It's the ones that go straight up the outside of the building, they're in the building.
Right.
They're on the outside walls.
Yep.
Those are the ones that are compensating. Those are the ones that we have to get the capture system under those stacks, catch the water and then pump it up.
Thank you.
Yeah, anything that's exposed that we can get to, we can insulate.
And then do you all have kind of master service agreements with the contractors who will do the work, or will you have you operational?
So our procurement requirements, if it's over 75,000, then we need 3 quotes. If it's over 250, we have to do an RFP. So we have estimates, and we think the chiller component of it will be an RFP, but most of the other ones are small enough that we can contract with.
Other questions? Thank you, Jennifer. Okay. So we have a resolution ahead of us. I'll move the resolution approving grant 591-614, the Ann Arbor Housing Development Corporation to assist with capital improvement in Baker Common. Do I have a second? Second. Great. Discussion.
I just want to say I'm recusing myself from discussion. Interest.
Thanks, Mary. Yeah.
So I read in the memo cover sheet to this, that this is set aside, the affordable housing portion is set aside in our budget. So we budgeted for this, an amount, it was like upwards of like 800. And I also see that anything that's unspent rolls over. When is the year for that? When that money kind of rolls over, and do we have that other like 300 allocated somewhere else, or have we talked about that at your committee level?
Well, we had a long discussion about this, and I sort of went to Sarah. Sarah, could you just talk a little bit about how this works in our budgets for the overview?
Just a quick overview. The DDA has 4 funds and 2 main systems that those 4 funds live in. So 2 of them are parking related, 2 of them are tax income and financing related. The housing fund is one of 2 funds for tax income and financing system. So we receive just under $800,000 in TIF revenues each year. And we earmark a small amount of that for housing. And so it lives in our housing fund. That fund is the minimum level of funding is dictated by city ordinance. For 2023, the amount of transfer is about $375,000. So we don't typically have a real high balance in the fund. We set aside the money in there, and then we
we budget wise, budget everything that's available each year for spending. And then just kind of wait for Jennifer to bring a grant request when the time is right and spend the money down and then build it back up and spend the money down. That's kind of the cycle of this fund. So the 300,000 that would be remaining after this money is allocated would be available for grants if anything else comes up. And if nothing else comes up in the current year, it would roll forward. Our fiscal year end is June 30th. So we kind of assess what's available at the end of the year and roll any money forward. And that language lives in our budget approval and also the city's budget approval. So that kind of allows us flexibility timing wise for the spending.
So, understand, is the new money, the new $375,000 is that available July 1? When does that money go?
It is.
It
Yep,
is. So
every year.
July 1, get 375 into the account,
Yep.
plus whatever is left over, which I want to point out.
Yeah.
So this is 591, there's almost 600,000. So we
At
don't-
the end of this year, it would be 300 something. At the end of this year 22, we had about 770,000 left. And we moved budget over so that we could spend most of that this year.
We have plenty budgeted for it.
We do, yep. And if this is approved, we would have another 300,000. And we don't approve anything else in the year. We have over 300,000 left in the fund going into next year, but we have another influx of 330.
Right there. Other discussion?
Second part, have you guys talked about the rest of the remainder of the funds for this year until June 30? I'm sure you've talked about it, but has there been any kind of?
You don't see anything on the horizon. Okay, jump in.
And in general, we wait for grant applications, so that isn't something that we say, oh, how do we spend our housing funds? We wait for our housing partners, city and housing commission. We also work with Avalon Housing. So, requesting grants.
One more. What are the grant amounts typically like? Are they usually 600 grand or are they 60? Okay.
Very drastic. This one is for the operation, building and repairs, maintenance. Other ones can be smaller grants or small funding or this is a larger.
For example, we approved a very sizable grant for the Wyoming.
Yeah.
That was recorded in the, depending on what the need is, it's kind of how.
It can vary.
So I know we have new members. I've been here for years. I have been for a couple of months. And this being my first time back, I made sure to read the report packet, so I felt like I had done my homework today. And I just wanted to thank Jennifer and Tim and staff. When I first read the resolution, I immediately had a million questions, and then all of the supporting documents answered every single question, including the photographs of the lintels and everything. So I just really wanted to appreciate your thoroughness. The only thing I have to say today is thank you, because everything that I wanted to know was in the supporting documentation. And I also want to call out one of the biggest side eyes that I gave the initial pass was the $50,000 for the parking lot. And what I saw is that the residents are actually using that's such an interesting use of that land. And I can't wait to talk about it on
Great, yeah, and I think by coming to some of these meetings, they answer these questions, but we then have that point documentation if we want to look into it.
Well, and it's nice, not having been able to attend.
Yeah.
I didn't have to rely on it. So
Yeah.
I just really appreciate it.
Yep. Are there any other questions? Feel good to vote? Okay, all those in favor of the resolution approving a grant $591,014 and our Housing Development Corporation Decision Capital Improvement to Baker Common, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, folks. Next committee meeting is Wednesday, November 9th. a week now at 9 a.m. With the partners. It should be an interesting meeting. Everyone's welcome to attend. If you can't, I could summarize it. Board packet.
I have a friend, I know generally what conversation is coming, and it seems to overlap with the conversation that the COC is having internally, or can we make sure that we're doing education to Don and Peter and the rest of the COC to attend the conversation?
Move ahead to the capital improvements. The Alex. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot, we have 3 resolutions today, so I'll try to move through this quickly. Before I get to the resolutions, we wanted to provide just a preview of a couple of things. Peoplefriendlystreets.org, which is the website dedicated to help launch the DDA initiative, People Friendly Streets, has been integrated into the DDA's website, which is a2dda.org. And traffic to People Friendly Streets now will automatically be redirected to the DDA site. DDA staff worked with Community Television Network to produce a bikeway educational video. And the video runs on channel 16 and can be found on the DDA website and on YouTube. In case you have questions about how those bikeways work. And we've been giving a lot of Instagram photos about how those bikeways maybe are being used. So everybody should watch the video. Okay, and this fall, DDA staff partnered with the Shelter Association of Washtenaw to host 2 educational events at the Delanis Center on Huron Street, providing DDA staff the opportunity to speak with the Delanis clients about transportation options and safety. Vulnerable populations are disproportionately injured walking and biking. And the Delanis Center staff shared that they experienced about 2 serious accidents per year, with 6 residents dying from walking and biking accidents over the last 10 years. And then events were held in September and October. Over 50 bike lights and 75 pieces of reflective gear were distributed to the Delanis clients. Common Cycle joined the DDA at both events, providing bike repair services. Staff will continue with this partnership and to inform the DDA's work on why all of these things matter so much. Okay. And now we have a shift to a CIP presentation and 3 resolutions. So I'm going to turn it over to Amber. She'll give the presentation before we move to resolutions.
Okay, let's jump in here. Okay, so as a reminder, the capital improvement plan, which is what your first CIC resolution today, that is required per the State Planning and Enabling Act. All projects that are supported by local public dollars have to be in the city's capital improvement plan. And in 2013, the City of Ann Arbor ordinance was changed to reinforce that projects must be included. So we have to follow through on that today. And then this is an overview of the overall city CIP scheduling process. Internal staff CIP meetings take place in the fall. That's where we talk about ranking and which projects should be grouped together. A draft CIP plan is developed in November. The Planning Commission reviews it and adopts it in the winter, and then that document is used for budget prep and as a basis for the budget that the city council adopts. And then our work fits within this larger schedule. So on the DDA staff side, we start preparations summer. We take that to committee in late summer and early fall. Typically, our board would approve the CIP resolution in October, but we weren't able to meeting last month, so it's moving to the November meeting. And then we also use that in our budget prep and basis. Okay, so we did a lot of work preparing for our capital improvement projects last year. And when we started that effort, we didn't realize just how influenced it would be by a pandemic. And we pretty quickly pivoted to focusing on resiliency and making sure that downtown is stronger from the disruptive experience. And as a mission-driven organization, we wanted to focus that recovery on our values. So we were focusing on projects that link the different groups together. And we also talked about
even while we were preparing to respond to the economic crisis, we had other crises that we knew we still had to tackle, like climate crisis, housing crisis. So through that effort, at the start of that effort, you all adopted a set of values that helped shape projects in our campus. Yeah, with a focus on safety, equity, affordability, carbon neutrality, and then of course a vibrant downtown. And we spent some time then looking at project options as it related to these values and prioritizing the projects that could best meet those values. And that's what led us to several groupings of different project types, one being flexible and event streets for businesses. We saw that in our first construction season on State Street. We'll wrap up that this year. We also formed partnerships with the Housing Commission, where we are building infrastructure like water mains to support new housing development in downtown. And then, of course, projects that help us to meet our safety, access, and carbon development. So this is just a map view of these projects. Several of these have been completed or are under construction, and others are still programmed for future years. And this is a more boring view of that same list of projects in the CIP now. So for this year, for the 2024 to 2029 CIP, staff are recommending that we continue the 2021 CIP implementation. A lot of process and discussion went into shaping those projects. We think we need to continue that commitment, and it does continue us on the path to what you'll see here is we're adding some smaller opportunities to further meet our values and build partnership, and then also strengthen connections to neighborhoods. And then you'll also notice that we're teeing up studies so that we can have more discussion and public engagement. You have all of the details of this in front of you. You received part of your board materials. I'll run through them just really briefly. So number one there, the Miller bikeway connection to West Park or the West Side. When the board approved the initial CIP with the Miller and bikeway included, our goal had always been to take it to Chapin neighborhood, but without a connection further west, we felt it was safest to stop at first. We'd have a signal. Now the city of Ann Arbor is planning a project on Miller from First Street West, so that gives us an opportunity to make that connection to the neighborhood. We also have a small opportunity with the Ann Street project to make some sidewalk improvements. That's the city of Ann Arbor engineering project. I'm sorry, I need to get some water.
And between Maine and
Yes, our portion would be between First and Ashley. If you can picture the liquor store on the corner of the street there, and what the sidewalk looks like in that, they've asked us to help make sidewalk to that space.
okay, so that's on the Maine and Ann area, and then we'd be extending sidewalk improvements down to First Street. Or
Possibly. The focus is really between parking structure and Main Street, because that's where there's almost no sidewalk. The parking lot for that building takes up most of the road there. And then with the city of Ann Arbor's Main Street project, we have an opportunity to upgrade the irrigation there. Judging on the condition of those trees, we can see how the irrigation has really benefited those blocks over the years, but it doesn't need to be updated. We're also recommending pedestrian and bike counters, automated counters to replace our manual counters. And then we're including some capacity to partner on public restroom, capital investments. This would include an assessment, potentially a pilot, and then potentially a capital. And then lastly, in the additions is a downtown energy utility study. You may have heard about how the city of Ann Arbor is looking into a public energy utility. So this would fit into that, allow us to assess for geothermal and solar downtown that would be publicly owned and maintained and give businesses a more affordable, cleaner option. And then the main update that you'll see today is an update to the fifth division 2A restoration study. We have had that in our CIP, and we are recommending that we move it up a year and then also expand it to be a larger downtown circulation study. This will be important for our work going forward, and it also allows for a partnership with the city. And then we just wanted to share some data and trends that we think show we're on the right track here. So at the national and regional level, during the COVID-19 pandemic, we saw quite a shift in where people were working and how they were using outdoor space, particularly our streets. Those trends are continuing. We also have some data. This is coming out of Brookings and is specific to the Midwest. They did a study that showed that community amenities such as recreational opportunities are bigger contributors to health global economies. So we're seeing that quality of life is just becoming more and more important. And we are working with forward planning. Shelby in particular has been working with forward planning to get updated data for downtown Ann Arbor and also help us understand what similar downtowns are focusing on as they recover from the pandemic. And you'll see quite a few similarities to our efforts: walkability, connectivity, inclusive housing, sustainability. All right, so following that up with some more specific local data. This is data you can see at the very left side, a little bit of data from pre-pandemic, and then how things have changed in terms of where people are spending their time post-pandemic. So you can see that longer dashed green line, that is parks, and that seems to be trending with the seasons. The dashed and dotted line, that purple line there, that's residential. So people are spending more time at home. But the more significant one that we want to pull your attention to is that very bottom line there, workplace. And you can see immediately starting pandemic lockdown, people shifting to remote work, and for the most part, that has not recovered. And we're hearing about this trend from other downtowns, and in the near term, it's not likely to bounce back. So what this means is fewer people are visiting workplaces and more downtown, fewer people are visiting downtown.
The data line like office or where do you know how they track workplace?
This is Google Analytics. And Shelby, do you have any sense of how they track workplace?
What they define as workplaces, I assume it's mostly an office.
But that would be like also visits to like businesses downtown or not necessarily?
That is just office, but if we, if I can go back. But on the earlier slide that showed downtown data, we have a very high density of employment downtown and a relatively low density of residential. So for us, this is a huge hit to our daily activity and the people who are spending time downtown.
And it's pretty much 100% tax part of the too, right?
Yes.
Back to that.
I don't know.
Second. Or the cursor buttons on the left.
And this is percent less. Or axis, y axis.
the percent change from baseline, so the workplace is down, like at the beginning, like 75%, 60%, whatever. And residential's up, and parks, it looks like way up.
Yeah, we don't have a good sense of that pre-pandemic, so we can't tell
Everyone's
if this
working
is,
from the park.
if this is just, what it would normally look like
Yeah.
seasonally.
Just, it's like, it seems odd to be, that the parks go up 100 and some percent, barely, I don't know, I'm just,
Maybe the green isn't really based on purple.
Mhm.
yeah. Okay, just go quick aside anyways.
All right, so similar data focusing on a couple of downtown streets. So it's First and William. Data collected on First and William streets. And one challenge we have with these daily counts is that weather can have a big impact. So we have data from 2017, pre-pandemic and pre-project investment, August 2021 and April 2022. The AM data collected in April, we had tornado warnings that day and downpours. So we don't believe that that's accurate data. So we're focusing on PM data. But we can see that this is following similar trends. So we have the vehicle counts on the left, pre-pandemic and during pandemic. And so you can see a significant drop in people that are visiting workplace and that vehicle getting traffic. In pedestrian traffic in the middle there, we saw a slight dip and then rebound, which also makes sense given that you have closed and reopened. And then on the far right, we have bike counts, and this was the only mode that grew significantly. This also makes sense. We invested significantly in bike infrastructure downtown to encourage people to feel safe, ride their bikes more often. This is just a block by block look at that same data, and for the most part, we're seeing increased use over time. So we think that the longer that these are in and the more connections that are in place, the more use we'll see. And then activity level by mode. So the bottom hatching, that's vehicles. The diagonal marking is pedestrians, and then it's hard to see, but that top is polka dots. Those are people riding bikes. And you can see particularly on William Street that there are blocks where pedestrians on bikes significantly outnumber those who are driving. And then just a quick look at our newest bikeway. This is getting through its first season of being open. And those previous counts, those were hourly. This is daily total. So it's not getting quite the same use as the other bikeways that we see July 2020 before the project was constructed, and then after. So we have AM, PM, and total, and increased use of seeing on those bikeways.
One thing I just add real quick is I'm excited about some of the counters, automated counters that we're going to be installing. A lot of this data is just it's small relative to what we'll get in the future, but it's crucial data. And some of the new counters I think will really add like the depth of our ability to understand and track and sort of justify any trade.
Then just to add a little context here, we wanted to play video testimonials of people who use the bikeways.
So it was so interesting to see them out on the streets, and I'm wondering if you have any sense of whether traffic, like you mentioned, there were fewer cars on Williams and the Hunter Road. Like, have they shifted to other streets, or are there just fewer cars down? I don't know if we have the data.
That we don't have the data for that. So we are seeing significant change for travel and hopefully the downtown study is what we're going to details
I have another question, and this is outside of your scope, Dr. Staff. So you mentioned that the city was investing in the Village Street, and I'm wondering if you know if that was one of the ARPA projects that was part of the community budget.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it's not, I don't know, does it show, does it give you an arrow on your? Yeah,
Is there a way to think?
yeah, it is on YouTube. You want me to? I can jump out of this eventually.
Oh, but your presentation.
Yeah. What do you want me to do here? You won't let me do it from here. Because it's dual, seeing a dual. Can we shut off the dual? Mm-hmm. Oh,
It's on our website too, isn't it? Or do you want it out here
it's on the YouTube channel.
on our YouTube?
Oh, can I do it? Yeah. Oh, here it is. Oh, it's so popular.
Oh, I like the bike lanes a lot, especially the protected bike lane.
I mean, these separated, two-way bike paths are awesome. I love them. I love hopping into them. It makes it easier. They feel safer.
I love bike lanes. I actually feel safe when I'm traveling on my bike, and they can get me through most of downtown.
Safe, very safe, very comfortable. I feel much safer. And I don't feel like I'm a nuisance to people walking outside.
I feel way safer. I mean, especially like I took 2 kids, like either on the back of my bike or in a trailer. And sometimes my 5-year-old like rides with me on her bike. So I mean, there's no way that I would let them ride in the road.
It's much safer with a family in a bike lane than on the main roads. And just having a new baby, I think we're feeling it more cautious, and so make
Even though sometimes it's a slightly longer distance wise, but I will still use it whenever I can, just because it's so much safer.
And I think I definitely prioritize going on the streets that have bike lanes.
I mean, we take the streets that have them more frequently than those that don't.
I bring my kids to Ann Arbor from it, so I just ride around and enjoy watching the areas.
I actually didn't really feel comfortable riding on the roads for a long time, so this is really motivating. Get into biking more.
I feel like there's a space for me in the road, and that I can kind of then go my own pace and still be attentive to what's going on, but maybe not as nervous as I would otherwise be.
Having a space to kind of explore the downtown without feeling risk or fear has really helped me get out there and actually ride my bike.
I feel like I bike downtown a lot more often in general, just to get here, because I know that there are options to ride around safely. It's also like nice community building to see each other and chat, and the kids see other kids on the bikes, they get excited. It's nice if you bring your balance and hello to the people that are out there with you.
Makes it very easy to get groceries in and out, like entertainment, and just have a couple of deals. All of that becomes much more accessible.
I'm more likely now to think of taking a bike than always having in the car. I don't drive down here. There's no point.
And as far as when I'm in a car, I haven't had any issues with the changes. I know people are complaining about, oh, you're taking away lanes or whatever it may be, and I've never had that.
I just wish there's more bikes.
I think having more of them would definitely be nice, you know, extending like maybe the Division 1 all the way to the bridge, the Broadway Bridge would be awesome.
So I think that's exactly the type of infrastructure we need, and we really just need more of it.
I understand correctly, you're on.
This weird shape-shifting device.
sorry.
is quickly becoming the most popular Father's Day gift of 2022. It
Sorry,
replaces up to
I'm getting up.
90% of
Making comfortable food is very different from this for other streets.
Yes, so, a few years ago, we made a street. That we went to Harvard to ask the state to let us manage the outside lanes as parking during hours so that we could narrow the way that that street feels when there isn't a lot of traffic on the street. The state has to jump through a lot of hoops. City council resolutions for things that we looked at. More recently, we've talked about high occupancy on those outer lanes. But all of it has to be approved by the state.
I've been thrilled at the way of the lack. Initially, when the hub and it's two new student rental developments were completed. I was frustrated at the lack of off-street drop-off because the right-hand lanes. Now I've come to really value it as a traffic calm because it slows down the traffic, that there's always someone stopping. Without getting kind of policy action. And I think that what crossing you're on that long block is a challenge, and also on the other blocks. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. We're trying to tackle if there is a successful way. That's true.
And for the most part lately, the state's response to any cost event, you can take over the trunk lines. And so we did look into that with staff. There was a recommendation. But that's something that. Okay, so I'll wrap this up really quickly. I appreciate you all sitting through our technical challenges. So here's what we know. The pandemic significantly changed our habits. Quality of life matters now, and we need more resources. Today, we're talking about our mental plan, so we're looking at capital positions for that. And we feel that this can continue downtown help to attract visitors, encourage residential density. Our goal has been value driven, so we're focusing on affordable housing, and we can also make downtown more welcoming and accessible. So that is what has shaped our recommendations for the year. One significant benefit of the CIP process is the opportunity to get other projects and overlap and group them together to reduce costs and negative impacts. So you have this in your materials as well. These are the projects where the cost share opportunity with Ann Arbor and Pride. And then here it is in the TIP CIP form, and we've talked about this in the past. Those first 2 fiscal years, those are firm commitments. Those expenditures fit within our budget. Those outer years are activity, and after some additional study and conversation. In your packet, you also have the parking CIP and Jada and I are happy to answer any questions as you discuss. Thank you.
So this is on page 45 of your board packet today, but I will move the resolution to support the DDA capital projects for inclusion in the city CIP for fiscal year 2024 to. Second. Discussion on this, and we wanted to get you this presentation last month, but we had some difficulty, with the meeting. So I know it's a lot. We appreciate your patience, Amber, Gia, excellent work on everything. So, any questions?
No questions, I don't think, but I wanted to say another thanks to Amber for helping me about this massive presentation ahead of time. And I just wanted to ask myself if anybody thinks the questions too dumb. I was the one that asked if I didn't have hundreds of people or devices. Now I never know. That's a great question.
Did actually come on.
And another the last thing I wanted to say is that part of the reason I joined the DDA in the first place, I appreciated that one. And I love going to the website and looking for over reports. So it's nice to be a part of the team that's now doing kind of I don't want to say massive, but I'm into that big question again.
I feel like I have a sense of what all these projects are from either reading or the same last few days, but I can't recall what this North Main Street you're what was. Remind me, I don't want to totally just.
That's another corridor in downtown that is owned by the state. So we should oversee that Main Street. They have a construction project plan for fiscal year 26. It does not include any pedestrian amenities. It's really just a resource project. Through the people on the streets to discussion with the community, that was a high priority for the community, and that's why we tried early for the DDA. So those are dollars for that partnership to be determined if it comes to fruition.
We have a complete street like recommendation package, and my understanding they haven't implemented it yet, or it's not many places. So it would be great.
MDOT would be doing resurfacing on that section of North Main. Is that just from the or is that going further?
That is beyond that. I
Beyond.
think some highway interchange that would not be harmful.
We thought that came to the boundary, so we would be looking at sidewalk improvements and pedestrian type improvements on both sides of that stretch from
And it might also help us solve some of the challenges with construction that ties into peaks. That's just a complicated chain of one-way streets that then comes together at North Main Street. So it might also help us to address where those streets meet North Main Street as well.
All those in favor of resolution to support the DDA capital project for inclusion 6 CIP for fiscal year 2024-29, please say aye.
Thank you. Okay, on to the next resolution. This would be page 48 of your board packet. I would move a resolution to authorize a $600,000 contract for right-of-way repair work in 23-24. Second. All right, and so just some background on this resolution. The DDA is responsible for specific right-of-way repairs and improvements, including repairing sidewalk work and sidewalk extension areas. And we actually have to approve this resolution every 4 years. It's an ordinance for the city. And so the city selected Doan Construction Company for the city sidewalk repair program for its procurement process. And the CIC committee is recommending contracting with Doan Construction for fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24. Questions?
What's the scope of coverage of this?
What do you mean scope?
Does it cover, is this geographical scope the whole DDA jurisdiction area, or is it?
So my understanding that it's a little bit complicated, but in the city's ordinance, they actually said that certain portions of the sidewalk are under our, there's different responsibility obligations on adjacent property owners, the city, and the DDA, and it's actually via ordinances. So these are portion of sidewalks we are responsible for. this
Throughout
ordinance.
our area.
Are you asking if there's certain streets that are?
That are,
I'm just trying to understand, is it like a 3 blocks or is it the whole area?
They go through regularly and evaluate the sidewalks to see if the little marks on the sidewalks. That's, this is cover what it would. Inspectors.
within the portion we are obligated, so within our whole DDA, but yeah, it won't be the whole DDA. You know, sidewalks and stuff.
Set aside money for that, there is some space and the asset there.
Right.
Any further questions? We good about it, all right. All those in favor of the resolution to authorize a $200,000 contract for right of work repair in 23 and 24, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes.
Okay, last resolution for you, page 49 of your packet. I would move a resolution to authorize $124,000 contract for annual seasonal lighting. Have a second. Thanks, Jess. Okay, background on this, DDA has contracted a seasonal light installation for over 20 years. Those are all those great lights you see on Main Street and throughout DDA area. An RFP was issued in September and 2 responses were received. DDA staff determined that Faith Lawn Property Maintenance was the most responsive with a lump sum of $98,000 plus hourly rates for as-call services. The committee recommends contracting with Faith Lawn Property Maintenance for 2023 for a not to exceed amount of $124,000 with an option for 2-year consecutive administrative renewals. So this one, if we approve this one have to you all for 2 more years. DDA Stratford administratively approve this. And I would add too that the company that we are recommending is the company that has done it for a long time. So.
And it was competitively bid.
And it was competitively bid. Yeah, and they were significantly less, not only on this base 98,000, but on hourly services and then equipment rental. It was just not even close.
A question and comment on, so I know that to save money, what we do over years is we generally leave the lights in place and then part of their scope work is go back around now, verify it's broken, fix that, which is great in the big trees. What I've noticed is on some of the smaller new plantings, oftentimes you get like a large bundle of extension cord or some other big heavy thing that's like tied to the top of this twig for the entire year and it tends to damage those smaller trees. So I don't know if there's an opportunity to ask them, maybe do some selective removals on smaller trees if they could. It's just,
Yeah, that was actually one of the reasons that we put out the RFP this year. We want to move away from that practice. So what we've included in this scope of work is removal and reinstallation,
everywhere.
which will take time. So that'll be kind of like a rolling removal and installation. Did walk around the downtown with the city's forester and learned about better methods to put the lights trees.
That's awesome. And we didn't discuss that. I didn't bring that up in our CSC, so it's kind of interesting here. So we usually have somebody who knows trees. Amber, you think of it all.
I do have an additional question. I'm sorry. I love the light. I love. This year, there were restrictions. High traffic area, I was in the world and there, light, yellow. Everywhere else has, is there?
That relates to fast power streetlights.
Oh.
And as we've been updating our streetlights, we're making sure that we are outlets so that we can install seasonal lighting and provide power for events. That stretch of West Liberty did not have power in streetlights here. So that was actually powered, I think, by adjacent businesses. But now those streetlights have been replaced. So that's what
Thought that was gonna be a curveball.
Andrew, now? Yeah. Thank you.
Voting. Right, all those in favor. Resolution authorized. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes.
Okay, just to round this out, some project updates. So Miller and Catherine and Fourth Avenue reopened to vehicular traffic on October 28th. Great news. The contractor anticipates opening the bikeway once the final signage is in place, which is end of this week and still days. So State Street construction updates. The street reopened on October 8th, but we continue to have ongoing supply chain issues and have delayed street light installation. So, and that's it. The next capital improvements planning meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, November 16th, 2022, 11 a.m.
Alex, thorough, yes, yeah, it's
A lot of work.
a lot of work.
Thank you.
Yes, it was a lot of work for me.
Massive operations.
Your excellence. Hi, everyone. We don't have any resolutions, but we've included, as you see in the packet, two sets of documents. The first is the revenue report, pages 50 to 54 in your packet that covers, thank you very much, that covers the first quarter revenue. And also provides multi-year comparisons. We have shifted from monthly reporting to quarterly reporting, recognizing that we're back in a more normal mode of operation after the volatility of the last couple of years. And we're not going to be tracking this with quite as much frequency, although the staff has volunteered to alert us if there are any notable deviations in between the quarterly reports that we want to be aware of. We welcome questions to us or to the staff team.
We get the Hot Wheels and we're going to rear.
So in addition to the revenue report, you'll see beginning on page 55 of the packet, materials relating to fencing for fall prevention and suicide deterrence at DDA operated apartment structures. So this came, as many of you will know, out of conversations at City Council and a resolution that the City Council passed, which you can see on page 58 of your packet, prompted by a recent incident. And at our most recent operations committee meeting, we talked with Jada, who shared a kind of overview, historical, budgetary, and also sort of ground truthing the information we have on the extent to which the DDA has previously installed fencing of different types for fall prevention and suicide deterrence. So she reviewed that with us and documented in the memo that's included in the packet that overview, as well as the series of photographs running from pages 59 through 82 that give a sense to correlate these data with our knowledge of the city. And so we discussed the question of seeing the city council memo, how should the DDA respond to this need and to the public conversation about it. And we concluded that we would continue working with our engineering firm to do a new assessment of the condition and degree of fencing, recognizing that to date the fencing has started at the top and moved down to what
the board previously thought was a sufficient level. And so we're evaluating, do we need to repair, modify, or upgrade the fencing that's already in place? Or are there areas currently unfenced that merit further modification? So there's no resolution on this, but we welcome questions or comments to Jada or to members. Jada, do you want, is there anything you'd like to highlight in the materials?
During council, there was some discussion about the types of fencing used, particularly at the top level. And that added some additional physical deterrent and curving backwards, less climbable, graspable. Anything conversations come out of?
Yeah, we discussed that, and one thing that we noted is that fencing at the top has sometimes been considered called temporary fencing in DDA communications, but was in fact installed in a long-term way. We discussed the city council's interest in more substantial and better looking fencing. And rather than recommend immediate action to the DDA board, we concluded that it was best to engage experts in advising, because we heard anecdotal data, had heard reports of concerns with some of those fencing systems not being as effective. Some of them are made of aluminum and are bendable. And so we decided that we better get more do some consulting before we recommend a course of action.
We're sort of planning to engage with set consultants, or do we have somebody in mind?
Yeah, we already have a contract.
So we have an engineering firm, Fishman, engineering work for the parking system. They either as Fishback or those same engineers and other firms have worked with us on the site. They're familiar with it. And this has become something we talk about as just kind of normal restoration and maintenance work. So we'll continue to do that. And we are asking them to help us look at that rooftop fencing. I think there's been some lessons learned in other communities since we did that initial installation.
Do we expect to give us kind of a recommendation or a range of options for either improving fence type, adding additional fencing for various levels, or who's leading that process in terms of here's the next steps, here's what we should do, ABC?
So as far as from the roof down, I think our plan is to continue to fence and get to a point where first level is on fence, but everything above that is fenced. So in these photos, those blue boxes kind of get us to that point. That was something that we had kind of been working on, piece by piece or facility by facility. So we'll continue to work to that. And what Fishback will be providing is information about the rooftop fencing. Since it was installed in 2017, we've had some repairs. Last year, we did some significant repair work at Forest with some connection points. So it's 5 years. It's time to kind of look at all of them again and make decisions. I think what we'll work to craft is if there are significant repairs to be made anywhere, what goes back up, maybe kind of a list of priorities as far and condition assessment, so we can plan next steps. But Fishback kind of looking at the top, probably presenting a range of options and some recommendations, and then we'll continue to put them down.
On that note, so if we're looking at, we're just going to continue to target these blue areas, I'm assuming that's with the same type of fencing that we've been using on those lower levels. Have we found that that's satisfactory, or do we expect the Fishback to say, hey, the consensus is now a new type of fence is better on those lower levels?
No, I think I think it's working. It's black vinyl coated chain link. Usually it's easier to fit the frame to the opening and seal it.
The only difference is that Fourth and Washington have a cable barrier system there. It's held up well, it's been installed for 2 years now. So in these facilities, we'll probably just use copy whatever's above it.
Other questions or comments?
I actually have one, sorry, Judith, but, in 2017, what is rooftop monitoring? Is that cameras?
No, that was, in 2017, there were a series of incidents, kind of in quick succession. And so there was a thought that we needed to have some presence on the rooftops. What that looked like was staff from our public parking and some outside, they hired some outside temporary employees. They were up there with vehicles, flashing lights, kind of just monitoring it. We also at that time provided the operator with some training on direction of the department on kind of how to engage, when not to engage, just to have another set of eyes up there. And then as the fencing was installed at the rooftop levels, we pulled back on that.
Thank you. Sorry to make you up.
Thanks, everybody. Lastly, the next operations committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, November 30th at 11 a.m. Thanks.
Thanks.
Mr. Chair, the October Finance Committee meeting was canceled because there were no agenda items. There will be an audit update on the November meeting, and that will be taking place this is our Thursday, December 1 meeting. Is that right, John?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our November meeting is in December. It'll be December 1st. That's it. Finance Committee.
Thank you. We met this morning at 30. Went over the agenda. Item major there. However, executive will be at the 11:30 a.m. New business. There is one item I want to say about the appointment of like to the finance committee. So, Mike, welcome to the finance committee. We're excited to have you on there. New members, we encourage you to come to committees out an appointment at first, see what strikes you, Mike. Excited about finance and excited to see all of you. The rest of that, our recent operations meeting had a lot of great questions. So appreciate everyone involved in. There's also the DDA's 2023 calendar in your board packet, page 83, for your review. If you have any questions about the DDA, now we are open to public comments. Do you have any business?
Not exactly new business, but I didn't dig my brain quick enough. So going back to operations, I appreciate the conversation. I just want to acknowledge that that's a really fun subject. And I appreciate data and staff and operations committee. We're approaching it from a very dry, working to accomplish way. But I think I just want to encourage us to keep having mental health conversations with friends or our family and our community. Because fencing is the very last thing that stands between somebody who feels like they have no other option. So please just keep talking to people, especially if we go the winter and the holidays. Please discuss a lot of us. So DDA business a little bit aside, just
Public comments? Do you have any public comment? Being done. All those in favor of adjournment?
Yeah, I see.
I think I was at the last one. Oh, you were. And I was looking for out.
I'll
stay. Yeah, I had a similar experience. I should make sure.
I will, yes.
So that-
That's what it is.
Yeah. Flexible.
Thank you again.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Nice to meet you. Yeah.